So, the first trailer for Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Mutant Mayhem just dropped. The animation is gorgeous, the voice cast is so fresh and exciting. I love the sort of 90s street skater hip hop vibes that they're going for here. It's one of my most anticipated movies of the year and could end up being the best TMNT movie ever made. I mean, to be fair, the bar's kind of low after this. This video is brought to you by SquareSpace. I've actually been looking forward to this movie ever since it was announced. I don't talk much about it on the channel, but I absolutely love the Ninja Turtles, and from what it seems like in the trailer, so do the people making this movie. The trailer is just, hang on, pardon the pun here, it's gonna be very funny, oozing with love and care, and I'm so excited. It wasn't that funny. Now that I said it out loud, it wasn't that funny. To some, seeing Seth Rogen attached to the project might be concerning if you still think of him as the guy that just makes stoner comedies.
This is where I watched my parents die, Raphael.
But genuinely, Rogen has been producing some of my favorite comic book media as of late with Invincible and The Boys. He brings so much love to everything he works on, and he's been nailing it time after time after time. Hell, he's been my #1 pick for The Thing in the MCU, and I'll fight for that until the day I die. I'm loving the voice cast for this movie. Nicholas Cantu as Leonardo, Brady Noon as Raphael, Shimon Brown Jr. as Mikey, and Micah Abbey as Donatello all seem to be doing a great job. I watched the Kids' Choice Awards and I saw them get announced, and they seem really fun together. They're bringing this really fun sense of companionship and youthfulness that a lot of Turtles media doesn't really deliver on. Rarely do I ever get the feeling that these guys are teenagers, since they're usually voiced by fully grown adults, and not to mention the 7-foot-tall behemoths of the Michael Bay movies. I love the glimpses that we get in media of that part of their characters, and here it seems like that's going to be a main focus, and that's really exciting to me. And the thing I love most about their casting is that, for the most part, aside from Cantu, who's most famous for voicing Gumball, these kids are all relatively unknown actors. I know I'm personally tired of every animated movie needing this big cast of huge celebrity names in a lazy attempt to attract parents and bring in adult audiences, whatever that means, as opposed to just casting voice actors who frankly know what they're doing. In a world where even the Super Mario movie forces a bunch of celebrity cameos into animation, having these 4 unknowns is a really nice change of pace that works for the story. Granted, this movie does sort of fall into that when it comes to the adult characters, like Seth Rogen and John Cena as Bebop and Rocksteady, Paul Rudd as Mondo Gecko, Giancarlo Esposito as Baxter Stockman, and who I'm most excited for, Jackie Chan as Splinter, who's rocking this sick haircut. But not doing that for the titular characters, especially casting actual teenagers, is a big step in the right direction for what the industry needs compared to a lot of animated movies today. I mean, come on, they could have just cast Tom Holland as Leonardo, but they went an extra step than that, and I really respect that. The Ninja Turtles have their roots in indie comics. This entire series was built because a couple guys had a funny idea, and it turned into a huge multi-generational franchise. And with today's sponsor, SquareSpace, it's easier than ever to start your own independent story. SquareSpace is the all-in-one platform to build a beautiful online presence and run your business. With their different templates and designs to choose from, Squarespace is the perfect place for artists and writers to start building their portfolio and host their art. Squarespace makes it easy for artists and creators to sell their content and expertise in a way that fits their brand. You can unlock a new revenue stream for your business and free up time in your schedule by selling access to gated content like video, online courses, and newsletters. Use insights to grow your business. Learn where your site visits and sales are coming from to analyze which channels are most effective. Improve your website and build a marketing strategy based on your top keywords or most popular products and content. Go to squarespace.com for a free trial, and when you're ready to launch, go to squarespace.com/TroyBoy17 to save 10% off your first purchase of a website or domain. And thanks to Squarespace for sponsoring this video. TMNT as a franchise has always been really interesting to me because from project to project, it feels like each movie or show or comic finds its own identity and sets itself apart from the others. And that's been a ton of fun and gives a ton of variety to the franchise, especially with regards to tone. Nowadays, with the sort of like nerd culture, there's a constant pressure to be nostalgic and remind people of what they loved as a kid, whether that be the 80s cartoon or the live action movies or the 2000 series or the Nickelodeon series. But despite the pressure, TMNT never falls into that, and instead they each have their own unique identity, and that's something I really respect. I especially love how it looks like they're doing Leonardo's character. Leo's my favorite turtle, but his personality throughout the franchise can kind of be all over the place, especially compared to characters like Mikey or Raph. Sometimes he's the stoic leader, sometimes he's another jokester, and based on what we see here, it looks like in this movie he's a little ball of anxiety, stressing about every situation and everything that's going wrong because he knows it's his responsibility as the leader. It's a natural development of what we know about his character that I really like, despite how little we see of it in the trailer. I also really like that this movie doesn't seem to be featuring Shredder or Krang. I love me some good Shredder and Krang, believe me, but the two have sort of just become the de facto Ninja Turtles villains in big blockbuster media, and so it's cool to see something a little bit more refreshing and potentially build up to those villains later down the line. I personally prefer when the turtle stuff finds that balance between the fun, humorous side and the dark, edgy side. I mean, they started as a Daredevil parody after all, so there's a ton of room for them to play with. And this looks like it's going to be leaning into the comedic side when it comes to the characters, with a world that's still dirty and grungy and has a bit of edge to it, and I really like that. A lot of people are talking about the impact of Spider-Verse on this movie's visual style, but I think that's doing the movie a huge disservice. Spider-Verse is gorgeous, of course, and clearly there's some inspiration there, the frame rate, the comic book feel. Just like with movies like Intergalactic and Puss in Boots, the style of Spider-Verse has definitely had a huge impact on animation as a whole. But there are some nuances to the style that I think are worth pointing out that distinguish it from Spider-Verse. The comic style of Spider-Verse was really inspired by the work of Jack Kirby, John Romita Sr., and traditional Marvel comics as a whole. It allowed for this grand, larger-than-life, multiversal experience that felt like the culmination of everything Spider-Man folding in on itself. Whereas with Mutant Mayhem, you can tell that the inspiration was to go a lot messier, dirtier. The lines are rougher around the edges, the color palette is more muddy, almost more grounded, or as grounded as you can get with a bunch of talking turtles, rats, pigs, and rhinos. It's clearly taking some visual language from Kevin Eastman and Peter Laird's art in the original TMNT comics. The movie is, for lack of a better term, kinda ugly. Don't get me wrong, it looks fantastic, of course, but when you compare this grungy and messy style to the sharpness of Spider-Verse, you can clearly see that there is a distinction and that this movie is forming a true identity on its own with the visuals. If Spider-Verse is a traditional Marvel comic come to life, then Mutant Mayhem is like a greasy graffiti you find on the subway wall. And I think that those visuals really fit the story of the Turtles, and it's not just stylistic for stylistic's sake. That messiness and that dirtiness, but done with intent and precision and craft, kind of perfectly mirrors everything that the Ninja Turtles are as characters. It's a group of 4 monsters, the result of a horrific toxic waste spill, that are armed with dangerous knives, swords, and weaponry, and are forced to live in the sewer while they fight crime. There's something inherently messy and gross and dirty about them from a sheer conceptual level, but they still manage to find love and purpose and companionship with each other as brothers, and that's what makes them special. The world of theatrical animated movies has become incredibly exciting. For a long time, it seemed like Disney was holding a monopoly over the medium, either with Disney Animation or with Pixar's films, and while some of their recent movies have been fantastic, some of them have also been really forgettable, especially in a visual sense. There's been this strive for hyper-realism when it comes to textures, characters, and environments, and for a while it felt like that was the only direction that we were headed in, and that was the only way that animation was going to develop. But with Into the Spider-Verse, and then The Bad Guys, and then Puss in Boots, and now Mutant Mayhem, there's a real competition in the animation scene again. Now companies like Sony, DreamWorks, and Nickelodeon are letting their animated films go full force on the style, full force on the visuals, and allow the artists and creators to use this medium of animation to its fullest potential. And it's going to force everyone else to play catch up, and that in turn is going to benefit the art and produce even more quality animated films. And I, for one, can't wait to see that continue with Mutant Mayhem. But what did you think of the Ninja Turtles trailer? And let me know down below what your favorite pizza topping is. You know, let's stay on brand with Turtles content. If you like this video, be sure to hit the like button and subscribe. Special thanks to Alto the Sting, Already Done It, Cabbage Boy, Cassidy Bond, Chicken McDoofus, Cosmic Tragedy, Eden Kenna, Iron Ninja, Jake Selig, Jonah, Corey's Not Fresh, Lime Spice XL, Logan Triplet Films, Simply Dan, Spectacular Clyde, Sully Hogs, Tim Neufeld, Troy Says BioRager is lame, Tyler Goodrich, Yash Kapoor, Zachary Stonebreaker, Zero to Hero 148, and ZZ Toasty for being spectacular fanboys on my Patreon. This is Matroy Boy 17 coming at you live. Be responsible, cowabunga, and I'll see you around.